Welcome to I'm Not Joking, the podcast where a behavioral scientist examines what it's like to live a humorous life. Glimpse into the lives of the funniest people in entertainment, business, and science as your host, Dr. Peter McGraw, explores their habits, motivations, and secrets to success. Get ready to fire up your brain and your funny bone. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to I'm Not Joking, the podcast that looks at the lives of funny people. I'm Peter McGraw. Today's guests are Will Choi and Keiko Agena. Will is an actor, writer, and producer based in Los Angeles. Currently, he is the host of NBC's new news docuseries Break Shot with Will Choi, where he interviews up-and-coming Asian American comedians. Will's voice can also be heard as a recurring role in the upcoming season of Netflix's BoJack Horseman. Keiko is a series regular on Hulu's The First and has recurred on such shows as Better Call Saul, Shameless, and Scandal. She's best known for her role on Gilmore Girls, and most recently, she wrote No Mistakes, a perfect workbook for imperfect artists. Together, they co-host the Drunk Monk podcast and the live Upright Citizens Brigade show Asian AF. Welcome, Keiko and Will.
Hello.
Hey, thank you for having us.
We had a little technical difficulty, and so we're actually going to try to recreate the magic that we had just a few moments ago.
I hate technology.
But they know at least the first two questions, so here we go.
Okay.
Will, Keiko, you weren't working in comedy. What would you be doing?
Let's see. I'm gonna be creative and think of a different option than what I said before.
Well, what was your first option, just so that people know?
So the first thing that I said was that I would be an executive assistant to a high-powered badass woman,
Like the woman from Devil Wears Prada.
Yes.
Or Anna Wintour type.
Yes, or Meryl Streep. I mean, wouldn't that be fun? I would love to be Meryl Streep's personal... No, actually I don't. Should I out you, Will? Will has actually been a personal assistant.
Oh, I still am.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, I am. Oh, Not for the same person, but yeah.
Who are you the personal assistant to?
I'll tell you after the show.
Shoot.
You know this.
I do.
Yeah.
How do you have time for that?
Well, I have to make money somehow. So
this is true.
I have to work. I don't work as much as I did for my previous boss, but I still have to work a decent amount as an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah.
So your original answer was an executive assistant.
Yes.
Behind the scenes, supporting this powerful woman.
Because I love power, but not the attention or the criticism or the scrutiny or any of that. You know who excites me? I'm going to get political, you guys. Even though this wasn't part of the podcast.
Great.
Do you guys know who AOC is? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
Yes, of course.
Yes. Like, I don't know, man. I
excited
turn on
about
Twitter.
her.
I'm excited about her.
Assistant?
Yes.
Cool.
Or, maybe her. She'd still be fun. Feinstein and
Pelosi.
other Pelosi scare me.
Warren, what about
I like
Elizabeth Warren?
Warren's running around the country right about now. I don't know when the podcast comes out, but she's drumming up support for 2020.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. It's just an exciting time to be
An executive assistant.
It's just really an
Okay,
opportunity.
so now you can't be an executive assistant. What are you going to do?
because I'm like,
What's your alternative?
a scuba diver.
Mine.
I'm
You
sorry.
stole it.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's only funny to us.
Anyway, I will explain. I'll go
sorry.
first, and I'll say my previous answer,
Yes.
which was I said I would want to be a scuba diver or a marine biologist because I love the ocean, and this was a realization that I had recently that I wanted to study the ocean a lot when I was a kid because I love the beach and stuff. So,
Yeah, I grew up in Hawaii and I never went to the beach. I feel like I squandered. We're living each other's dreams.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, because
kind
I
of
want to be
weird.
an assistant. No, I don't.
Yeah.
So how do you grow up in Hawaii and not go to the beach? Just what are you doing?
Oh, I was some theater brat.
I see.
Probably I was just indoors a lot. My sister sort of lived the actual Hawaiian
Like surfs
reality,
and stuff
yes,
like that.
And one of my sister did paddling. One of my other sisters surfed. Worked at a surf shop. Worked at the bar. Where they served Mai Tais. That kind of thing. So it's 50-50. My youngest sister and I are not that at all. My younger sister gets stopped and asks where she grew up, like in Hawaii, because she doesn't have any accent whatsoever.
Okay.
And she's like, I grew up here.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're indoor people.
I'm not surprised to hear this. Like, I think comedians are indoor people.
Yeah? Indoor in the dark.
Yeah,
Like
it's
3
just-
o'clock when they're tired and...
First of all, I think indoor activities are fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in Colorado where everybody's like, oh, the outdoors. I'm like,
Right.
I like indoor activities as much as I like outdoor activities.
Sure.
Like there's, and so I think comedians are big on indoor activities.
Right.
So
Yeah.
while we were waiting for Will, Keiko and I were talking, and she was telling me about her life in downtown LA, and I asked what she liked so much about it, and the word coffee shop came out of her mouth 4 times.
Yeah.
in the answer, right? There's your indoor activity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
Will, have you ever scuba dived?
I have not actually.
Snorkeled?
Yeah, snorkeled I have, but
Okay.
no, I have not scuba dived, but I just anything National Geographic, Blue Planet, all that shit, I love it.
Have you been watching the new Blue
I
Planet?
have not seen it yet, but it's literally like when I want to go to sleep, I will play those videos.
I see.
Yeah.
I've watched one episode of the new Blue Planet, the one with the lizards and the snakes. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've been watching some of it here and there.
It's-
My husband's been playing it.
It's basically like these lizards running this gauntlet.
Oh, yes.
Through
Right.
these. I'll post a YouTube clip of it. It's incredible.
Oh, is it
so
the one where the
exhilarating.
snakes are chasing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I've seen
That's
that
right. I
one.
have seen that. It's the most exhilarating, exciting thing I've ever experienced.
It's true.
But what would you be if you were not the assistant? What's your other answer?
I
Barista.
obviously love coffee. Yes, I would be the manager at a Ralph's, but a big one, maybe the downtown one on 9th Street.
It's the most
This is so
Normal.
amazing.
Have you guys been watching Superstore? I don't know why that. I think because I've been watching Superstore nonstop. That just like I want to be Glenn, but like efficient Glenn. I feel like I could do better than Glenn.
Sure. You can. He's
Right?
he's
kind
not
of
supposed to be
so
good at his
good.
job. Yeah.
I feel like or maybe a Trader Joe's, although I would have a really hard time with the parking situation and feeling like I would have to always be apologetic to people that their lives were so difficult trying to park at the Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
But something like
Trader
that. But
Joe's-
general
Well, you could be a
manager.
Trader Joe's at some place that has a big parking lot.
That doesn't exist, Peter. Come on.
Trader
Come
Joe's
on.
is notorious for their tiny parking lots.
Yes.
I feel like
I don't know if I don't know if Colorado's different.
I'm sure it's better. It is interesting you say this. There is a Trader Joe's in Boulder, and the parking lot does seem overrun.
See?
Yeah, I think you're right.
See?
they're trying to make the illusion that like they're
packed and busy.
packed all the time. Yeah.
It's a problem.
Also, it's also the problem is parking lots are expensive, and they don't return as much as
That's true.
produce aisles. Okay, but you guys are working in comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes, right.
Oh, is that? Yeah.
and clearly are doing well. So I stalked you folks, listened to some of your Drunk Monk podcast, named aptly because you get drunk and watch episodes of the TV show Monk,
Yes, with the fantastic Tony Shalhoub.
detective show.
Yes.
Yes.
And it just so happened to be the case that the episode I listened to helped answer a question that I was planning to ask you. Do you have a rival, a frenemy, or even an enemy?
What about you, Will?
Well, I said that everyone was
that's
my
right.
enemy, but
In my mind, find Will is like.
But if everyone's your enemy, no one's really your enemy.
That's
Yeah,
true too.
that's true.
It's a good way to look at life. No, I mean, yeah, like I think there are people that I think that pop up in my head, but the funny thing is that they're all my friends. So it's like,
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, if they were to get something that, I thought, maybe I could also do that role, there would be a twinge of like, but also hell yeah, man, like good for you guys for booking it or something. But
yeah. I think a lot of and I'm kind of speaking for Will, but I think a lot of my maybe anger and frustration is more about making more for all of us to choose from. And I'm speaking like Asian Americans because we're all so different. And I think I mentioned this the last time we were teaming, but basically, when I see someone nail a role, I'm excited for them because that's their role. I just wish that there were more
right.
Because, Will is so different than, Nico Santos is so different. I mean, from Ken Jeong. I mean, it just there's so many different types of and my friends that I'm so passionate about that I wish that people could work more and we could all be seen more, I think.
That's an interesting idea that given that the roles for Asians are so limited, I mean, they're increasing, but still limited. Mm-hmm. That notion that when someone gets a role that it really feels like there's some opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Versus white actors, for instance, you're like, well, there's just tons of other roles,
Right.
And so the idea of trying to grow the pie.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, one of the things that I like about Asian AF, which is a variety show at UCB in New York and LA, is it's designed to showcase.
Yeah.
It's a community building showcase. Yeah. Look at showing the world what kind of talent is out there.
I remember when we first started doing the show, a big thing that was going around in Hollywood was like, oh, we're looking for Asian actors and we're looking for Asian performers. We just can't find them. We don't know where they are. And I remember, Asian AF was like, oh, hey, you can't find us? We're right here. We're making it easy for you to come and see all of us. We're all here, and it's a good show. And so, it was kind of just like an answer to an excuse that Hollywood was giving.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And hence the name. Is that part of the origin of the name? It's like it doesn't get any more Asian than this.
I think it all played into it.
Do you remember what the other couple were that you pitched?
Dude, no, I don't remember.
Don't?
Do you remember?
I don't, but I do remember going, no, that one.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? I do kind of remember because
like
there were
just two others.
There were two like it had been
Whiny
done before, or like they're like, it was like invasion or something, like something like Asian invasion or whatever, just very like things that have been said and done, kind of gimmicky and stuff. But I remember when I landed on Asian AF, I just thought, I was like, man, that's right to the point. It's very bold. If you don't know what AF stands for, it stands for as fuck. Mm-hmm. It's Asian as fuck. It's like, what you're gonna get when you come to this show. And the funny thing about it is that ironically, it's the only thing Asian as fuck about it is that we're all Asian.
That okay? I was going to ask about that because I've yet to see the show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the audience. What's the makeup of the audience?
I'd say it's half and half Asian, half everything else.
Okay.
Yeah. It's grown. I think before in the beginning it was majority Asian American, but now it's white boyfriends and girlfriends have been hearing about it. So
a lot of white boyfriends.
Yeah, no, but
it's a quarter of it.
It's about a mix, and the cool thing is that we're year 2 into Asian AF LA, and I would say half of the audience is always new to the show.
Right? Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so we'll in the beginning of the show we'll be like, hey, whose first time is it coming to a show? It's usually half the audience which is really cool.
So I had on a comedian from LA named Jen O'Donnell, and Jen runs a all women's show called The Ladies Room.
Cool.
And I mean, it's not technically all women, but it's all women. Like, and she said something to me that I thought was really striking, and I'm curious if it exists with Asian AF. Is she talks about the benefits of Ladies Room allowing women comics to work through new bits with an audience that's going to be more friendly to those bits. So this might be women, she used the example of you make a joke about a sports bra or something like that. If you go to a normal open mic as a woman comic, as a female comic, it's mostly other dudes in the audience. Right. And if there's something good to that joke, you might not figure it out with that audience. Yeah. But at Ladies Room, if there's some potential in that joke, you do figure it out. And it encourages you, and you get to work that out. And then you can work it to the next level where it now can land with both females and males in the audience. Do you find a similar dynamic with Asian AF? Like if you're an Asian comedian and you have a white audience and you're working something out, the bit might not work. But with that audience, you might figure it out better.
Yeah, I think what's definitely true is the supportive audience. Like people come to Asian AF they're there to support the show. No one's there to be like, I'm just going to this thing or whatever. Like the audience is generally really supportive, and
people don't wander into that show.
No, not really.
Not so much.
Not so much because we sell out our shows in like a day. So people who want to come to the show are buying tickets because they want to be there and not because it's a random thing that I want to check out like the day of or something. But in terms of like working out material and stuff, generally our comedians that we book for the show, like Asian AF is not necessarily like an open mic kind of working out thing. It's like it's a showcase, so people come in
these
with
are
like
more developed,
more polished material,
and they have more time too.
And they have more time. We give them a decent amount of time to do their set, so they might try out some new stuff that might be more Asian centric, and it usually does well because people get it. You know?
I see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in the case for our show, it's usually more polished acts that are going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do think there was something that some improvisers had mentioned about feeling freer, and maybe this is relating also to your example of being able to say. Not feeling like you have to explain everything. Like there's maybe a little bit of a common language that you could throw something out in an improv scene and feel semi-confident that the other improvisers will get it and the audience will get it to a certain extent.
Yeah,
and then maybe you can roll that into something bigger and take it deeper than just something very surface and gimmicky, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's very true.
And you two co-host, and you do it well.
No, no, we're not very good hosts.
No,
we're not
really.
Yeah, we're bad.
No,
we're bad hosts.
Terrible hosts.
Well, hold on. I've seen some clips. You're not terrible hosts because hold on. I know you're terrible because you are enthusiastic.
Sure.
Right? You are, it's clear you're happy to be there.
Yes.
You are excited about this. You are encouraging, like you make this about the artists.
Yes. Yeah.
That's accurate.
We're always focused on like showcasing everyone else. Like we're not the reason why people are coming to the show. We're there to facilitate it to move on smoothly and stuff. But in terms of like the audience isn't going to be like, oh God, I got to go to this comedy show to see the Will and Keiko do bits, like that's not why people are coming. But, I think like it just comes down to how much time and effort we're able to put into hosting. And a lot of times we just don't have
I think my favorite bit that we did was a while ago when Ed Skrein, however you say his name, turned down the role
of Hellboy
in Hellboy.
Yeah, I remember.
And we
that.
gave him a parade and we sang him a song. Yeah, and Will sang a song.
Yeah, it was really silly.
It was really silly.
This was a bit you guys worked out.
Yeah,
in
like we
and
practiced
it.
Yeah,
it was so enjoyable. It was like cathartic because I don't know if everyone knows this story, but
I don't think people know it.
so whitewashing has sort of been building up this pressure over the whole year.
Yeah.
And it launched on Twitter that Ed Skrein had taken this role that was originally supposed to be an Asian role. And to everyone's surprise, because people were just starting to bag on him, his name was going to be associated with another whitewashing incident, along with so many others. But he turned it down. And it was such big news that even a lot of people in the Asian American community, I say big news, it's all relative, but a lot of people in the Asian American community were getting phone calls, and I actually got a phone call from BBC to be on air to talk about this incident because it had not happened before for such a big role
To get turned down.
for someone to consciously step away from it.
Yeah.
And we were so happy that we threw him a parade. And
I see.
I
That's
was
fun.
screaming and yelling and we had noisemakers and
Right.
hats and it
Do you
was
have like
silly and lovely.
Do you have a top 3 whitewashing incidents?
Yeah.
What are they?
Oh, gotta go Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, yeah,
That's
Scarlett
gotta be,
Johansson,
like,
number one.
Number one.
Yeah,
Ghost in
that's
the
the
Shell.
reason why Asian AF kind of started. We were making fun of that. And so, yeah, that was probably number one. What was number two?
Well, we make fun of Matt Damon a lot. It's not really whitewashing. It's
Yeah.
just the image of white Matt Damon at the
White savior.
White savior at
Yeah.
the.
So whitewashing is you put a white actor into a role that was meant to be for non-white actor.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm sorry, but
No,
so just so people know.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
And then
yes,
White
please.
Savior is kind of like your Tom Cruise in Last Samurai, Matt Damon in The Great Wall, where there's a white guy that comes to Asia and kind of saves.
Is the best at
Asian-
everything.
Yeah, he saves Asians.
Asians.
Asians. That's not a thing.
That's not?
No, but yeah. So there's like kind of like it's a the white character is the central character in the backdrop is all Asian, which is that's
Yeah.
like white savior, and then there's
And
like
then was it Tilda Swinton was the one.
Tell us when, yeah, that was like weird. It's all nuanced and weird because that one was like, oh, we didn't want to portray this Asian character as a stereotype, so we're gonna get Tilda Swinton to play this character. And then it just gets all real messy and weird. And it's like, well, you're not honoring the source material, but the source material was racist and like, blah, blah, blah. And so it's just like, it's just all messy and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So
Wait, so
there's
what
our
are,
top 3.
so you have Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell,
Yeah.
which I never watched, so
Sure.
That's fine.
Yeah. You're not
not
missing
great.
much.
It's not- if it was good, I
yeah.
would have heard it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And then okay, so what are some others that would?
Well, there was Tilda Swinton in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Emma Stone in Aloha.
Yeah.
She played like a half Asian character.
I see.
And then, Matt Damon in The Great Wall, which was like kind of different.
And there was something about there was a Death Note that kind of came and went,
Death
and then
Note,
Iron Fist, also not a whitewashing,
not
thing,
whitewashing,
just-
but it was kind of like there would have been a really cool way to tell this story through an Asian American lens that you just missed out on.
I see.
Also it was not a good show. So
I mean, to me, this is like the most blatant and obviously the most, and as a result, kind of the most upsetting
yeah,
element of this. But it strikes me as that there's an even more pervasive thing, which is that there are roles that could be given to any race, but the default is just to put a white person in there,
Yeah.
right? So, and those you don't even know, right? You don't go, it would be great for that role. It'd be to have an Asian guy or an Asian gal in that role. But that's the even more pervasive element to it, which is that just the default is just to put,
yeah,
and
it makes sense. That's just how things have always been. But things are slowly changing now, and I don't know. I want to think that things are getting better. So
Yeah, I think this last year, especially the very end of the last year with Crazy Rich Asians, has really changed a lot of things. And I think 2019 is going to be fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, one thing that seems to me that's pretty clear about Hollywood is how risk averse it is.
Yeah.
And then when someone does something that's outside the norm and it does really well,
succeeds,
because
yeah,
at the same time that Hollywood is risk averse, it also cares a lot about making money. And so then if you can show that this isn't as risky as you thought it was,
and then everyone jumps on
then people will follow, right? I mean, and so now it's either there are people who wanted to follow and didn't have a reason, and so now they have a reason, and then there's the people who are just greedy, didn't care about it before, and just like, oh, it's time to cash in, and so it's going to create.
Yeah.
It can create opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, so I want to know what you folks want to talk about.
Will said he was getting high all the time.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So
Right before we started recording.
So I live in Colorado. You know, the green rush is in full effect, and so now California has legalized marijuana. And you had mentioned off mic that yesterday
I lost a day.
The day disappeared.
The day straight up, it escaped to me. I woke up. I took a little, and then
Hold on. I need
No.
I want the beats of the day. So,
Okay.
So you got up at what time?
So the night before that, I was smoking as well. So I smoked at like 6 p.m. or something. I just bought a new cartridge on my vape, and first time trying this one, and I was up till I think like 6 a.m. because I was just so high.
Really? I would think most people talk about how it makes them sleepy and tired.
Yeah,
and relaxed.
it makes me relaxed, but it makes me very aware of my body. And so I was noticing a lot of areas where I was having pain and tension. And so I was just doing.
Sounds terrible.
Were you like stretching?
Yeah, I was stretching for like 10 hours. Yeah, basically. And then so I fell asleep, woke up again, and then was like, oh, what do I have to do today? I looked at my calendar. Oh, nothing. Great. I'm going to smoked at like 10 o'clock in the morning. I woke up at like 10. And then the next thing I know, it was like 7 p.m. And I was like, what happened? What happened? Where did my day go? But yeah,
I love it because both of us are very noob as far as smoking.
Yeah, we
goes.
don't smoke a lot, but
and so now I feel like we're 15.
You're experimenting. You're experimenting.
And I'm doing the same thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh,
Yeah.
weed.
we're like the
So old.
I know. We're like, no, but the great thing is that I feel like a kid again. Like I feel like there's a lot of like my body has just that.
This is my arm.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, this is how my arm felt when I was a kid. Like,
well, yeah. Well, marijuana has this sort of psychedelic property, so you can have these unusual cognitions.
yeah.
That besides, I think, the other kind of emotional and.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been just very introspective. Like I've just been very like looking back a lot on like memories and stuff like that. Which for me, the reason why the scuba diving thing came into my mind was because I was like, oh yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to like be a scuba diver.
That's fascinating.
So it's like things like that are like opening up in my mind.
Should we? I know we kind of toyed with this idea, but should we finish out the rest of Drunk Monk?
But
just
high. God, we would
as-
not get anything done. We would not get anything done.
But I would love to have like 1 minute per episode, and it's just
us getting
silence.
I mean, we could end
Sorry,
off the
we've
episode.
just hijacked this conversation. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, I asked you what you wanted to talk about, so you're not hijacking anything.
Yeah, I mean,
I like how
what?
stereotypical it is. I'm like, what do you want to talk about? And two comedians are like, I want to talk about getting high.
Yeah, but the thing is that we're both new to it though.
So
You're
new.
novices.
No, but that's not what I want to talk about.
Oh, sorry. What do you want to talk about, Will?
I don't know what I want to talk
Okay.
about. I just want to talk
What do
about
you like? What are you puzzling over these days? Like that's to me, that's the interesting thing.
puzzling
Like,
over. What am I puzzling over?
I mean, it's a new year.
Right.
I'll tell you a couple things on my plate. One, I'm going to run a marathon this year because my grandma passed away in December, and I want to honor her because she did marathons.
My uncle passed away in December as well.
Oh, really?
Wow, we're
Your
like
uncle?
Yeah, we're like
the same person.
yeah, we're like the same person.
Oh. And then I think about, I read a lot of Twitter, and I'm excited about the House this year and all the women and the progressives in there. And then I'm obsessed with Marie Kondo. So I've been
she has a new show.
super
I just
condoizing.
binged all of
Yeah,
it.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm super KonMariing. Like, I already KonMari'd last year. You guys don't understand. I already
Yeah, you
KonMari'd.
did.
I am now like fucking, I'm going to be stereotypical right now. I'm fucking ninja. I'm ninja level KonMariing my house right now.
I think this is the time. I think that winter break, there's a lot of tidying up that happens in the world.
It was so planned for them to release it on New Year's Day. Like they knew exactly what they were doing.
I think
Have you
that's
watched
right.
it?
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, but you know about it.
I know the book,
Yeah.
and I know the I haven't used the technique per se, but I know the spark joy technique and the idea of taking everything out of the closet and all that kind of stuff. When I heard about it, I think I heard about it via Twitter. I wasn't surprised that a show came of it.
Yeah.
I think that there's something that's incredibly compelling about makeover shows in general. And what's surprising is that even mundane makeover shows can be compelling. Like, you don't need to have extreme plastic surgery for a viewer to feel satisfied
Yes.
Yeah.
with a makeover, that you can make over someone's closet, I guess, house and so on. So give me the beats of the show. How does it? I assume they profile someone, then Marie shows up.
Yeah. She shows they'll kind of talk about why they need to tidy up. Every episode has a different angle to like why they need it, whether it's they need to clear out like a loved one stuff, or they have kids that they're expecting on the way, so they need more space, and then so they'll do that, and then she'll come in. She has like a 5-step kind of not program, but like areas that they need to target. So it's like clothing and books and sentimental stuff, papers, miscellaneous, and
I see. Yeah. So for listeners who are not familiar with the technique, one of the major so I'm going to speak as a psychologist for a moment.
Do it.
So one of the reasons that people don't make change in their life is because of something called loss aversion, and that is that for the average person, the potential loss of a change looms larger than the benefits of the change. And so if you're contemplating a change, in order to sort of pursue it, you either have to find a way to minimize the losses or find a way to maximize the gains. And so Marie, in addition to having kind of these steps, she recognizes that it's hard to throw things out, donate them, or, find another home for them, because the problem with them, obviously, is they're taking up space, they're not being used, etc. So she has this saying, and I've heard that it's not as big a deal anymore, but like this, does this spark joy? Joy being broadly defined, but when the standard becomes, does this spark joy, it then leads you to be very focused on only keeping the most important things. Right. And it's a nice, I think, technique to try to overcome this loss aversion. You focus on the good for why you need it. And if there's not a lot of good for why you need it, it has to go.
Yeah.
Right. And so it has to go in this way. I want to ask you about this because I haven't seen the show. I saw something on Twitter and it was clickbait and I would not click on it. Or maybe it was on the internet, about the book part of the show has been controversial to some people.
Oh.
And I think it has to do with this idea that books for some feel like this very sacred thing, and getting rid of books is quote unquote bad. Now, I don't believe that to be the case. I am a voracious reader, and my house has almost no books in it. Like I don't need a wall of books to show people that I read a lot of books.
Right.
And so I donate to Goodwill and to libraries, and I borrow books a lot and so on. So I'm just curious, did you notice anything about this book part of the show?
I heard about that mostly because I saw someone's response to that.
I see.
I'm curious about why people attached to that one part of it. Just...
I know. See, I didn't click on it.
Yeah.
That's why I can't answer that question. I mean, my guess is this notion that books for some
Yeah.
Clearly not all, because most people don't read books, but you know,
Yeah.
for some people, what's up?
I just laughed.
That was his laugh.
Yeah.
Someone, I mean, I don't know. I should check this stat. Someone told me some crazy statistic, like 50% of Americans have not read a book since high school.
Wow. That sounds about right, though.
That sounds.
It sounds right. It sounds terrifying,
and it's crazy.
though, doesn't
it's
it?
a crazy, scary.
In any case, but there's people who clearly are passionate, love books, and feel that they are these special items. And then the idea that you would be encouraging people to get rid of books seems sacrilegious as a result, I suspect.
Yeah.
I suspect that it's the easiest item to defend. So of the 5 different objects,
So you have
there's
clothes, books,
Miscellaneous,
Papers.
papers, and sentimental.
and sentimental.
sentimental.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So also the interesting thing is that there's a order that you want to go in. So you
from
go
easiest to hardest.
Yeah. So with clothes, I think is kind of the easiest for people to get rid of. And so by the time you hit the sentimental, which is the last thing, you're already your mind is in the it has a mindset of being able to let go of things.
You have momentum.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in watching, and I think because you watched all of them, right?
I watched all of it. Yeah.
I think
Did you binge it?
yeah. But I binged it in like 2 days. I think.
Were you sober?
Yes, I was. Yes, because it requires subtitles because she speaks in Japanese.
Right.
And I can't focus when I'm high, so I had to watch it while I was sober.
What do you suspect you did yesterday? Did you just stand in the middle of your apartment just stretching?
Yeah, I was just stretching.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm watching shows. I was watching like
you were
I was
watching
watching like Bob's Burgers or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob's Burgers doesn't have any subtitles for any reason.
Anyway, but back to
The order. The order to.
So what you were saying about how why books are. Wait, what were we talking about?
Oh, I think that the idea that, well, what I was saying when I asked you if you'd watch all of them is that if you watch them, people have attachments to different things. So for some people, it is books. For some people, this one guy, it was paper. Like he was a writer, and there were just something about the scraps of paper that he had difficulty there. Some people have it with clothes. Some people have it with the sentimental. So, so I think it's interesting I would suspect, again, I didn't read it. All 3 of us are talking about something we didn't read, but I would suspect that whoever initially wrote that is someone who is very attached to books. And the idea of getting rid of them clicked something with that person that was maybe challenging.
Especially if Marie has you building a big fire pit and throwing them in the back.
Now, if she did,
In the bonus,
we're burning the books. That's another level. I did not see that episode.
Yikes.
It's interesting
seems
because
so.
She seems
nice
not like she
and
would burn
innocent.
books.
Yeah.
I keep a very tidy house.
Good.
And I'm like one of these messy bed, messy head people. Like I think like when the world feels a little out of control, when I feel a little stressed, and then I'd like to put things in their place, and it helps kind of have that sense. There is something so oddly satisfying about that before and after, either for yourself or even witnessing it, that I think is really compelling.
Yes.
Yeah.
We love improvements.
Yeah.
As people, it gives us hope. It's fulfilling.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes for good TV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just less clutter physically and emotionally and mentally and stuff like that, which helps, I'm sure.
So this is a great segue.
We'll decide if it's a great segue. Just kidding.
So this idea of tidying up, you tidy up your space. The notion of like tidying up your career or tidying up your thoughts, like, so I'm curious about your process in terms of getting rid of jokes, stop, you know what I mean? Like the things that you're saying yes versus no to, you two strike me as you're at the kind of point in your career where you don't have to say yes to everything that comes your way.
I mean, I think that's where Keiko's at. Me, I say yes to everything.
You say yes to everything still. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't. I've learned to
say
no.
So let's take this idea of tidying up,
Right,
and let's apply it to your professional lives, and tell me, are you doing it? How are you doing it? Do you have a system? You know, if you were going to Marie Kondo your professional life, what would it look like, or are you doing it?
I think for me, it's
See, that is a pretty good question, isn't it?
It
That's
is.
good.
It's good. I think for me though, it's like being efficient with your time and your energy. And so I could be, I'm a type of person that I spread myself thin a lot. I mean, I've done that my entire life, but now it's a matter of pinpointing the things that exactly that I want to work on and I want to excel in. And that's kind of what I've been thinking about a lot for 2019 is like, yeah, learning to be like, okay, this thing that I've been doing for a while, it's just not, it's either getting harder for me or it's getting busier. So either I need to let it go or I need to find someone else to help me with it or something like that. Because you only have so much energy.
Can you give an example of?
Man, I'm trying to think.
Well, you do.
You certainly, well, you guys were joking earlier. You tell Keiko to do some things sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes I do them.
She doesn't do it all the time. No, but I mean, oh God, I wish I had a good example for you right now, but I don't.
First of all, I'm glad you didn't say no to this.
Oh,
right? 'Cause
yeah.
This could have been one of those things.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Oh, no. Also the reason why, like, sometimes it's just timing too, because I think when you initially emailed us, it was like right when like holidays were starting, and so my brain was just not. I just couldn't even think of anything else.
And you had a show that day, or
probably,
I
just
think that initially,
yeah.
there were, like,
And
all
so
kinds of
when
shows
I
happening.
finally caught up to my emails, and I was like, oh my God, Peter emailed like 2 weeks ago, and I completely forgot to respond back. It was like, yeah, I want to do something like this, but it just was like the time was just when I got the initial ask was like,
so it sounds to me like what you're saying is when you're in this sort of tidying mindset, it's usually when you're a little overwhelmed.
yeah.
So, but it's not like a constant. So when you have space, you say lots of things. You say yes to lots of things. When you don't have space, you say no to the less pressing.
I think
things.
so. I think that's kind of a good way to put it, because there's some times where there's just too much going on and I cannot focus on like a couple of things. Like, for example, I got asked to do a show, and it's a pretty big show, and I'm going to talk to Keiko about it after because I want to pass it on to her. But I got asked to do this show at Sketchfest, which is at San Francisco Sketchfest, which is happening this month. And I was like, I really want to do it. I really want to do this show, but I know where my headspace is going to be when I'm up there, and I know that I'm not going to be in the right mindset for it, so I have to turn it down.
I see.
Yeah. So stuff like that, where it's like, like I want to do it. It sounds so fun, but I know that it's not going to be the right call for me.
Yeah, that seems. Smart.
Yeah, but normally I would be like, oh man, that sounds great.
2 years ago, you would have been.
2 years ago,
Yeah.
any chance to do it, I would do it.
I remember we would have conversations about that thing, is that because Will does say yes to a lot of things, and he knows a lot of people and goes to see a lot of things, and he's also producing a lot of things and performing in a lot of things. And so there was a time where I would say, Will, just take this month, don't do a show this month, like take the holidays off, or don't do this particular theater thing, you know?
Yeah.
He would say no. He would say, he would say, yeah, Keiko, and then do it anyway. But now it's 2 years later.
Yeah.
And
I've matured.
and you've decided you're going to take some time to have your weed days when you need it.
Exactly. And lose a few days.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated by this idea. Well, I want to get to you,
sure.
Keiko, but I'm fascinated by this idea of kind of stress and recovery and how important. So we know it's important in fitness athletics, right? So you're about to run marathons, and so if you went out every day and ran 10 miles, your body would break down. Like you need to sometimes run 10 miles and sometimes do a shakeout run, and some days do something else, kind of a thing. I think it's clearly the case for creative work that you can't be successful without running hard, metaphorically, but you also need to take a break from it.
Totally.
And so I had Billy Merritt on here just recently, and he was talking about the advice he gives his students if they want to get good at improv. I might not get exactly right, but I'll try to explain it. So he's like, day 1, take a class. Day 2, watch shows. Day 3, practice with your mates, put together a team. Mm-hmm. Day 4, do an improv jam. Day 5, like read about improv kind of thing. Like, so every day of those 5 days of the week, you are working on a particular set of skills and practicing and developing.
Right.
And then day 6 and 7, he says, go to Europe.
Yep.
And, the idea being you need to step away from it. You have to give yourself a break and sort of, it's not Europe per se, but the idea is go do something else that's interesting that then indirectly informs being a good improviser.
Yeah, totally.
Which
great advice.
Which might be, something historical might come up in a sketch or whatever. And for you two as comedians, if you only do comedy all the time, you can't be paying attention to what's going on in the world, which is the source material for doing good comedy in a sense.
Totally. Makes
so
sense.
I thought it was fun. That's kind of a fun idea is, stress yourself and then release yourself in that way.
Yeah. I think I used to be the kind of person where I would say that my saving grace was that I called myself bouncy. I was resilient. So I would push and have heartbreak and fail and all of that. But at least I was resilient. I was bouncy.
Does you mean just your personality,
Yeah. Yes. In acting work.
Okay. You seem like
so I
that
didn't
way.
give up.
Will, tell me if I'm right. You seem like that in life in general. A little bouncy.
Yeah, probably, yeah. I would say.
Dead wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, for sure.
But I think now one of my newest things that I just thought about, like in this last month or something, is, at least for me, my new standard for the year for 2019 is 2 things. Is it joyful? Is it kind?
Okay.
That's just for me, because
when you say it, you mean the thing you're doing?
Well, what you were saying about if you're making choices about things.
Yes.
So when Will asks me about this thing after we stop whatever the sketches, or just any opportunity or any question of should I do this thing or should I not do this thing? Now, in the past, there would be all kinds of machinations that would go cerebrally, right?
I see.
Oh, is it good for my career? Well, I should do it because it's with this producer. I need to do it because if I don't do it, something else bad will happen. Just this like cranking almost in your brain.
Yes.
And I'm used to that. And you just push. You just like, I have to, so I'm just going to push. And then I'll just recover afterwards, right? But
now you're like, does it spark joy?
Yes. Oh, we're bringing it around. Kind of, for real. Like, how far can I get, honestly, if I go through the whole year and not worry about the machinations of it and just say, is this joyful? And if I double down on that thing and see how much fun it could be, what naturally comes out of that?
Yeah, I think that's great. So, again, you two are at a level where you can afford to do that, right? So I think that's hard. I think that if you're a brand new comedian and you're just like, does it spark joy? You're finished, right? Because it's a grind.
Yeah, you can't
to get good enough.
You can't be picky in the beginning.
You can't be picky at the beginning. And, to me, like the interesting juxtaposition in comedy is Bill Murray versus Joan Rivers.
Oh, tell me about this.
Right. So Joan was to the very end working all the time. If she had an empty space on her calendar, she was fraught with uncertainty and anxiety and so on. She had to be working all of the time. And I think I understand part of the reason why that she always viewed herself as an underdog. She sees herself as born to perform and so on. And she covers, this is in her biopic. And
I think I saw that.
It's really fabulous movie.
It's great.
And the juxtaposition of this is Bill Murray, who is almost impossible to wrangle. and to get him into a movie, or to get him, like, he works when he wants to work, as he wants to work, with whom he wants to work. And even though both of them were at the pinnacle of their success, he strikes me more of the, does this spark joy to do?
Yeah.
Like Wes Anderson calls, he says yes, because he knows it's going to be a magical experience. Joan never moved to that place because she always had this sort of scarcity mindset around it. It didn't matter what it was. If she's got to take a red eye to Reno, she would take a red eye to Reno to do the work. By the way, I'm not suggesting that either is wrong. I mean, these are people living the lives, full lives. But there is something that happens as you become a veteran, you get good, you are allowed and able to say no. You have license in such a way. And what's interesting is it actually increases your value.
Yeah.
Right? When you start saying no to things, then people, so maybe they'll pay more, or maybe, those kinds of things. So I think it's great that you're sort of thinking this way. There's a saying in, like, I think it's like the kind of these tech folks. There's a guy who talks about hell yes or no, or fuck yes or no. And basically, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no, which is a very similar idea to what you were just describing in that kind of way.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap shortly. I want to do some more personal type stuff. So Will, you're doing voiceover work.
Yes.
So tell me, like, I don't know that word. I've only had one guest who does it before. And so I'm curious about that world. Do you like the work?
I mean, for me, I'm so new to it. Like, as a kid, I loved cartoons. I would get in trouble by my mom for watching too much TV and too many cartoons. Like, another thing I remembered as a kid is that my mom would pick me up from school, drop me off at home, and then be like, I'm going to go out and get groceries for dinner or whatever. And so go do your homework. And I would be like, go to my room, listen for the garage door to open and close. As soon as it closed, run to the TV, watch whatever cartoon was on. And then I would just half be paying attention to TV, half pay attention to the garage door. And when I would hear it open, turn it off, run to my room and pretend I was doing my homework. Sometimes I got caught, sometimes I didn't. The days I got caught were not great, but that for me was just like, I was just remembering how much I loved cartoons and how as a kid, I was like, I want to do that. But I had no idea how to be a voice actor and truly know to even be an actor. I had no idea what that would take. And so now that I'm in this industry and I'm kind of doing what I like and really enjoy doing, that voiceover kind of fell into my hands a little bit, because when I signed with my first agency, and they're a really small agency, boutique agency, they happen to have a small voiceover department, and they must have been like, oh, he has an interesting voice, just send him out for some voiceover stuff. And within a month of signing with them, I booked my first video game. And I had no idea, no training, no nothing. I just auditioned like everyone else did, and I got it. And so that was my very first experience being in the booth and kind of just seeing like all the gameplay of like what the game was going to look like and stuff like that. And it was so exciting for me. And I was like, I got to do this. I have to do this. This was back in like 2014. And I never booked a single voiceover thing after that. Nothing came my way. I might have done like one commercial or something. And then more recently, I was like, I started to kind of like slowly book a few things here and there. So I did like a commercial spot and stuff. And yeah, and now I am somewhat in it. I think Keiko has experience doing voiceover as well. And it's been so fun, because what I love about voiceover as opposed to live acting is that you have to use your entire body to get certain sounds out and certain emotions out. Where on camera, you're limited to the frame, but in voiceover, I was working with a director, and he said, don't be afraid to look stupid.
That's interesting.
You have to, and so to me, to get into a character, to find a certain voice of a character, I have to position myself a certain way. I have to stand a certain way. I have to crank my neck up or down or whatever.
No wonder why your joints are all sore.
yeah. But it's like that is the way to find a character in the way that you cannot do on camera.
Are you wearing like a headset that allows you to move around?
I'm wearing like there's a mic in front, and then I'm usually wearing headphones.
I see.
That's all really it is. Okay. Or in my experience, it's been. I haven't done like mocap or anything like that, but
mocap,
motion capture.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's interesting having to just use your physicality to find a character. And that's to me what has been the most enjoyable part about doing voice acting.
And you're doing this for BoJack Horseman, you're a fan of the show?
I'm a fan of the show. I'm
such a fan
I'll
of
be
the
honest,
show.
I don't know if I could talk about it.
You shouldn't talk
That's
about
fine. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm so excited to be in a show that I really love.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it certainly beats being in a show that you don't love.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So
although still be cashing that check.
Hell yeah. No, but it's so great. It's such a fun experience. And I don't know.
Is voiceover work hard?
I think it's easier than
being an actor.
I think it's hard.
What's the hardest? You each of you do many things. What's the hardest of those things that you do professionally?
Hosting Asian
Oh my goodness.
Hosting is so low on our like caring meter.
Caring meter.
No.
What's the most difficult?
Well, I
thing
think I think hosting is hard.
No, but it is hard.
Hosting is definitely hard. I don't do it a lot. If I had to host the Golden Globes or something, that would be a nightmare for me because I would be like, I don't know how to do that. Mm-hmm. But what would be the hardest aspect? Producing to me is not hard. I think for Keiko, that's probably
I don't produce
the hardest.
Really.
Not the hardest, but it's a hard thing for you to do.
I was just thinking about this today of I think comedy is, I mean, I love that you keep calling me a comedian.
Yeah,
I'm not a comedian, but I love that you keep calling me that. But to me, comedy is so much harder than drama. I was just talking to my husband today about that. It's fascinating to me to think that there are people who know that they can nail a piece of comedy in the same way, because there are certain areas of drama where I know that I can nail something. I can attack it and have confidence in that. I've never had confidence in comedy. I love comedy. I do it as much as I can. And there are times when I get lucky and there's fire, but I don't have, I'm yearning for that feeling of that knowing you could nail it.
Yeah.
A certain type of character.
Sometimes I'll watch a TV show or whatever, and their comedy is on point. And I'm like, I can never do that. Like, there's just no way to have that. There's a science behind it that some people can just, they tap into it. And for me, I'm like, I don't know. I would never think to do that or like whatever,
Yeah, I see.
Stuff like that.
That's fun. Keiko, I want to ask you about your book.
Sure.
So what, as someone who's a visual, auditory person, up on stage, on screen and so on, you wrote a book. What prompted it?
Originally it was going to be an adult coloring book, because I had started drawing now about 3 years ago, just for my own mental unwinding. But they're pretty detailed because I use a pretty fine pen, and I started posting them a lot. And so I got a lot of comments about, you should make a coloring book. When we went through certain channels, I was able to get a literary manager. And when we went to pitch it, the feedback was, well, we like this, but can it be broadened out? That we don't want it just to be a coloring book. And so what it became ultimately was a tool set that I use myself. So all the things that I need to get myself over difficult challenges or times when I feel stuck as an artist, all of those thoughts and exercises I put in one place, and that ended up becoming this. Yeah. So now it's a workbook. So there are places where you can draw, but a lot of it is journaling, and a lot of it is answering certain questions and visualizing things for yourself.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
You know what's really cool about the book too
thanks.
is that you could rip out the page that's all perforated on the
Yeah.
side, so you could like, if you liked something that you really did, you could just rip it out
And put it on
the
your
wall or,
refrigerator.
yeah, do whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
Which is super cool.
I have a quick follow-up question for you. So
Sure.
previous guest, Jeremy Sender, who
know him.
We're gonna see him.
he gave me your names and encouraged me to reach out to you.
Hi, Jeremy.
I met his girlfriend last night. So Jeremy and I went to a UCB show, and then she happened to be next door with a friend, and they said, "Ask Keiko about her wedding."
Oh. Sure. So I got
But I have no idea what that means.
Oh, well, I'll give you a real quick precursor to my wedding. So my husband and I, we were friends for 6 years. We were roommates for 6 months. We dated for a month. We were engaged for a month. And now we've been married for 13 years. When we got married in a helicopter over Vegas, the Vegas Strip. We eloped.
I see.
So nobody knew that we were getting married until we got back.
All right.
So that's
I've never heard of a helicopter wedding before.
I will give not the helicopter thing. That's what whoever wants to do. You know, that it was super fun, but I will send this out into the airwaves. All young people
Should
or
elope.
old people should elope. Should elope, you guys. Elope.
It seems like it's a lot less stressful.
Your family will forgive you. You just buy your respective moms something really great.
With the money you
elope. Yes. And then spend it on your honeymoon or vacation or down payment on your house. Spend it however you want.
Yeah, smart.
All right, that's fun. All right, last question. What are you reading, watching, or listening to that's really good, that stands out?
So we were just talking about Marie Kondo, right?
Yeah.
You're watching Maria Kondo, yes.
And we talked about BoJack.
We talk about scratch that off. I mentioned Bob's Burgers. Scratch that off.
Wait, was that? You said?
mentioned-
Bob's Burgers.
We mentioned Rick and Morty. What
Bob's
was that last
Burgers.
time?
That was in the Lost tapes, but Rick and Morty.
I love that it's lost tapes. Yeah, Rick and Morty.
God, what am I watching?
So those are things you're watching. But what about listening to or reading?
Well, when Shin's my husband, went to Vegas for our anniversary, we decided to try an audiobook for the first time. And we got Michelle Obama's Becoming.
Okay.
And it was kind of lovely. It kind of made the trip go by like nothing, like
good.
butter.
Like butter.
And she reads it herself, and she's a wonderful reader.
And when you said you guys got it, and then you were listening to it separately, like on headphones,
No.
or you had it in the car?
We
Oh, I
drove
see.
to Vegas. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And it was nice.
Just picked up a book, which I've had in my room for years. It feels like years, but it's been, calling to me for the past couple days. It's a book called Plan B by Jonathan Tropper. He's a author that I've read a couple of his other books and I really like them a lot. He wrote a book called This Is Where I Leave You, which turned into a movie with like Tina Fey and Jason Bateman and stuff like that. But yeah, this book is called Plan B. Don't really know what it's about. I read the first 10 pages. So that's what I'm reading right now. But the funny thing is that like I haven't picked up a book in a while. So it'll be kind of nice to get into that rhythm again of reading because it's been
I like 2019 Will. He's getting high. He's reading books.
Yeah, I'm getting more cultured.
You look not as sleepy. Can I say
that's
that?
not true.
Oh, it's not true?
I'm tired.
You look less sleepy.
Oh, good.
Normally you look dead to
I
the
look
world.
dead. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm reading that right now. But what am I listening to? I don't know what I'm listening to.
Other TV shows I want to throw out there is Superstore,
Superstore.
Oh, yeah.
Good
that's
Place. Oh my God.
Good place.
There's a Netflix cartoon called Voltron, which I watched all 8 seasons of. Just great.
Is it the same Voltron?
It's a remake of the 80s cartoon.
Of the 80s cartoon.
Yeah,
Okay, which
it's
I
great.
watched when I was a kid.
It's great. It's so fun.
I watch every single competition cooking show
Okay.
ever made.
Yeah.
The best, and I can say this because I've watched everyone, is MasterChef Junior.
And why?
Because here's the reason why MasterChef Junior is amazing. Because the kids are from like 8 until 12 or 13. They're extremely talented. They cook better than the adults in MasterChef, and I'm not making that up. And the wonderful thing about this, about the way that they shoot the kids, is that they're very sweet to each other. Gordon Ramsay, all the judges, it's impossible to it's hard to watch sometimes. They are just as hard on these 8-year-olds as they are on adults. And I don't know what these kids are made of. They don't crack, and they perform under pressure, and they're kind to each other. Yes. When they're supportive, like, you did great. And they cry when they leave. I mean, it's the sweetest. It makes me believe in talent and perseverance and humanity.
Damn.
Wow.
That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, man.
This sounds a lot like it's on your theme too.
Yes.
Which is it good? Is it kind?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh my God. I can't believe I didn't say the best show ever. Derek is my favorite show ever, besides Monk. It's Ricky Gervais' show. I will cry every episode. The whole theme is kindness. It's probably, you can still find it on Netflix. It's the best show
I
ever
think it's
made.
still on Netflix.
I mean, I know there's 2 of you, so there's double the number of things to stand out, but you guys have set a record for the number
of things. Well, we still got more. I still got a ton of stuff that I'm watching. Keiko watches every show, like every single show. I'm trying to keep up with her to try to watch as much stuff.
I professionally absorb content. That's really my job. I act sometimes, but my job is to absorb content.
So this is my last question, because you guys are LA based. I find it really striking when I'm here how many people go, hey, have you seen this, blah, blah, blah. And, I'm not in the business, so I don't have to make it seem like I know everything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no. But I think that if you're in Hollywood, there's a lot of pressure to be like, oh, yeah. Like this. But,
a little bit.
But I don't understand how people do it, because generally, if you are working in Hollywood, you're busting your ass and you're not able to. There's so much content to be consumed. It's hard. It's impossible for everybody to be watching everything and doing their jobs at a high level.
I think also, though, as actors, we don't have regular jobs.
So you have downtime.
There is
and you
downtime.
binge.
There is a lot of downtime to kind of disengage and to turn off your brain for a while and binge a show.
And by the way, it actually is part of your work.
It is.
Right. So, it's like when I read books, it is benefiting my work, even if I'm reading the book largely for pleasure, because I'm observing how you tell a story and how do you put together words, and I'm adding to my vocabulary and my worldview. Less so when I watch a movie.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
You know what I mean in that sense. But for you guys, it might be the opposite, which is watching a movie that's a night's work, because you're observing this technique and how do you do this camera shot and these directorial choices, etc.
Totally.
And I also think a lot of people in LA love movies and television.
Sure.
I mean, I think that's also why I think we love to be in them, but we also love
The
them.
medium,
I mean,
I love it.
I love it.
I love TV.
I mean, of course, you guys were theater nerds. Like it started early, right?
Well, for her,
You were.
I haven't seen as much theater as I
No,
would
but
like
I mean
to,
the
but-
same.
Oh yes,
kind of
yeah.
principle. Yeah. All right, so you guys are great. I knew you would be great, and I really appreciate you doing this.
of course. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to visit petermcgraw.org for more information about our guests, show notes, and social media links. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share with others. Join Dr. Peter